host, Lauren.
And I'm Sarah.
And today we're presenting to you a puzzling tale. In each episode, our team has researched a case to present. These cases all involve relationships or marriages that end in murder with another layer of intrigue. Our audience will have the ability to decide whether they think it is fact or fiction. The answer will be revealed at the end of each episode, so make sure to stick around to find out if you're correct or not.
Today we will be talking about Jeff and Kat West, their hot and cold marriage, and the date night that led to Kat's death. Kat West, born Kathleen Dawn Martin, met William Jeff West in 2004 while the two worked in the same building complex. Kat at the time worked in a tanning salon while Jeff worked as an army recruiter. Previously, he had been employed as an investigator with the military police. Kat had been struggling for some time with bipolarism, depression, and deeply ingrained low self-esteem, to which she'd been to multiple counseling and therapy appointments for. But when she met Jeff, everything seemed to fall into place. The two seemed to embody love at first sight. After a few months of dating, they were married on June 3rd, 2004 in a Las Vegas ceremony. The two later had a daughter named Lola. In 2015, the family moved to Calera, Alabama, and bought a house in a picturesque suburb. They had their own way of saying, "I love you." The numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stood for "I love you for life." This was strengthened by their matching tattoos reading, "For life." Their life and marriage seemed to be perfect on the surface. However, that was not the truth.
A friend of the couple, Brittany Tressler, noted that they looked like an odd pairing, but seemed very happy together. Kat was the life of the party, and Jeff was the calm one, sitting back and watching. When Kat would drink, she would get emotional and more rambunctious. A drunken Kat would wander outside with little to no clothes on, no matter the weather, and jump on the trampoline or even across pieces of furniture in the house. Brittany witnessed drunken Kat trying to pick fights, but Jeff wouldn't fight back. With Kat, drinking was all or nothing, which often strained their relationship.
Kat began a Twitter account in 2016, wherein she would sell kids' toys and clothing, as well as some of her own old clothing, like dresses or shoes. 4 or 5 months after opening this account, she began to post more risque messages. Messages with names like Frisky Friday, linking her followers to her pay-per-view channel on the site OnlyFans, where she would post lewd photos of herself. While many may think this would be the strain on their marriage, Jeff contests heavily, saying he was fully aware of her side business. The man would even take photos of her sometimes to put on her page. Part of Kat's appeal on the site was her likeness to the late Hollywood starlet Marilyn Monroe, and emulating Marilyn Monroe seemed to earn her a great deal of validation online and in person, the kind of validation Kat desperately needed.
On January 12, 2018, Jeff and Kat West had a date night, a usual occurrence for the couple. They went to the Red Zone Sports Grill off Highway 31, and then to a local liquor store. Finally, they stopped at a Publix on the way home. While at the liquor store, the two were caught on candid camera acting like a typical affectionate couple. Jeff gave Kat a love tap on her rump, and he passed her, and even opened the car door for her after they purchased their bottles of Lucid Absinthe and Jameson whiskey. Lucid Absinthe's alcohol content is 62%, and Jameson whiskey's alcohol content is 40%. Essentially, absinthe is a big boss in comparison.
For a while, absinthe was actually illegal to produce and market in the U.S.
For 95 years, because of the health risks, essentially.
I believe it was legalized in either 2007 or 2011. One of those 2 years.
Yes. It's a big boy.
Once home, Jeff posted a picture on his Instagram account of the Lucid Absinthe bottle, a can of Red Bull and a vaporizer, and a few glasses. The drinking continued, as you may have deciphered. Jeff claims they had about 5 or 6 drinks. Kat changed into lingerie, a pink sports bra and pink multicolored panties for pictures for her adult content website, with Jeff as her cameraman. The two eventually got into an argument over the amount of time Kat spent on social media, and Jeff threw her phone outside in sub-freezing weather. Jeff later claims to have gone to bed around 10:30 while Kat stayed up drinking for an indeterminate amount of time, a fact which rose to question in this case, since at the time of Kat's death, her blood alcohol content was 0.23, 3 times over the legal limit to drive, an amount which was also likely higher earlier in the evening.
Before dawn on January 13th, the next morning, 19-year-old neighbor Makorsha Purifoy was on her way to work at a fast food restaurant. While driving through the neighborhood, she spotted something unusual. Makorsha went back home and got her parents involved since she wasn't 100% certain of what she saw. However, it didn't take long to determine her initial sighting was correct. She saw the body of a woman in only a pink sports bra laying partially in the road, face down, with a gash in her head. The woman and her mother both called 911, which is where one of the first inconsistencies with Jeff's story arose, as Makorsha's mother claimed that the operators had probably already gotten a call since they could see a man pacing inside of Kat and Jeff's house.
Jeff claims to have been awoken by his dogs barking at police cruisers at 5:15 that morning. Police and witnesses both note his peculiar behavior. Jeff never asked to see his wife and never publicly expressed any sort of emotion over her death. The police would also note that this flat affect continued on during interviews. Despite his strange behavior, Jeff was entirely compliant with police, even staying in interrogation for hours before he was officially named a suspect. There is also an important note to note here that judging people off of their mourning process is particularly problematic when it comes to cases involving spouses.
Especially when you're unsure of their background. Especially when it comes to those of Jeff, who worked in the military for several years beforehand. However, there's many facts that don't align in the case. One of the largest ones have to do with the timeline of the night. While Jeff claims to have gone to bed at around 10:30, the health app data on his phone contests saying that he was up and moving for about 18 steps from 11:03 to 11:10. Kat's health app places her last movements at 10:54 that night, and she had moved for nearly half a mile. Her phone detected no other movement until police took it into evidence that next morning. Additionally, after further investigation into the couple's personal lives, the police found that they believed evidence of an unhappy marriage. Texts accusing Jeff of throwing away years of their relationship that ironically were followed by claims of love and desire from Jeff's side that turned into arguments and lust. Jeff openly admits the two weren't perfect. They had many arguments over Kat's drinking, as well as her higher sex drive that it was hard for him to keep up with. Despite their arguments, Jeff stressed to investigators that he and Kat were in a good place.
Regarding Kat's higher sex drives, I actually read an article where she wanted to bring in a third, possibly, for sex. A woman.
Dun dun dun.
Ooh. It's Calera, Alabama. You have to keep that in mind.
Correct.
Jeff, as well as the victim's family, claim that Kat's death must have been a freak accident. But police feel as if they could prove it's not. The force of the injury that Kat sustained forced her brain into her brainstem, paralyzing her, which medical examiners agree was extremely unlikely to have happened due to a fall. Kat was extremely petite. The gash was also approximately 2 inches, the exact same size as the bottle of absinthe found at the scene. Further, the blood found seems to suggest that since Kat was first incapacitated with a blow to the head, and then her body was moved and staged. This aligns with the positioning of her phone and the lucid absinthe bottle that were also found at the scene, which seems staged with the bottle laying on top of her phone, tipped over. Investigators also believe the bottle of absinthe to be the murder weapon, a theory corroborated by the fact that there was a small chip found at the bottom of the bottle, as well as traces of Kat's blood. However, no glass was found in the wound, nor did they find hair or brain matter on the bottle.
The police also took many items from the couple's Calera home, some 40-odd items, in which there were 2 that tested positive for Kat's blood. A white tank top that belonged to Jeff, and a towel. Now, the amount of blood found has yet to be released, and the age of the blood can't be determined by forensics. A damning piece of evidence against Jeff came in the form of the lucid absinthe bottle, probably the only piece of hard evidence found during the entire case. Jeff's left thumb and ring fingerprint in an inverted position were on the neck of the bottle, a position that would be used if the bottle were to be used as a weapon. Defense would argue that Jeff was right-handed, and that is also how one would likely pick up the bottle from the bag after buying it. There were many inconsistencies that shed on Jeff's status as a suspect. For one, Jeff was wearing the same clothes as the night before, and not a drop of Kat's blood was on them, nor was any of her DNA found on his hands. Secondly, there were no signs of a struggle inside or outside of the house. Finally, no signs of spilled liquor were anywhere to be found. ADP security on the home did report one oddity, though. The West's front door opened at 1:51 a.m. and didn't close until 5 a.m.
In a case such as this one, it's typical to see the family of the victim spiteful toward the assumed killer. However, in Jeff's case, the family is all on his side. Jeff's claim of "I would never hurt my wife" is wholeheartedly supported by his in-laws. Kat's mother and father, Nancy and John, defended him throughout the entire course of the case. Nancy and John had even driven Kat the day before to a follow-up appointment for Kat's breast augmentation surgery and reported no unusual behavior or conversation from their daughter.
So, now that you've heard our tale, have you decided? Do you think it's real, or do you think we're really good at making up details?
It is real.
Ta-da!
This murder is actually what started us on this podcast, and researching it was a doozy. We both went back and forth on if we thought Jeff was actually guilty or not.
And still haven't decided.
I have no idea. I don't know how a jury decided beyond reasonable doubt that this man was guilty.
Exactly.
I feel like I could never make a decision.
Exactly. But that's also part of our wrap-up episode.
And a little teaser for that wrap-up episode. Jeff actually wasn't convicted of murder. His charges had to be dropped down to reckless manslaughter. To find out why they couldn't convict him of murder, head on over to that wrap-up episode and learn about the outcomes of all our real cases.
Thank you all for listening and guessing along with us today on what started us on our little journey. This is our final case study episode, and we appreciate all of the support you've shown us so far. If you'd like to get updates on if we end up continuing this anymore, please click the subscribe button down below and make sure to stir up some chatter in the comments section about your thoughts on this very real case and close to home. We'd love to hear what you have to say, or debate. Our social media will also be linked down below if you'd like to learn more.
Oh, also, I want to thank the Cat West Murder Facebook group.
Yes!
They were
Oh my gosh.
so helpful when researching this case and finding and pulling articles.
True.